Hey everyone, it's Ryan Henry with InspireSmall.biz, and thank you for joining us for this episode of Inspiring Stories Behind Entrepreneurship. So, the purpose of this podcast is to sit down with entrepreneurs who have started their own business, learn about their story, and how they got their business off the ground. This is our first episode of doing this, and I am pleased to introduce everyone here to Aline Clarke. Aline, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very good, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you very much for coming and for being our first guest. This is a milestone for us here. Aileen, we've gotten to know each other a little bit here over the last few months. We
Mhm.
met through TTR Networking,
Right.
which is another great organization here in Central Indiana that gets people together.
Mhm.
And you've also attended some of our events as well. I'm fascinated to have started to learn your story. So why don't we back all the way up to the beginning? Because
Mhm.
you moved here to the U.S. as a teenager, correct?
Correct.
So let's talk about your early childhood and life experience, and tell everybody whatever you'd like to share.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Aline, and I like to joke and say Aline because it makes it easier to remember
Okay.
how to pronounce it, how to spell it. But yeah, just like Ryan said, I grew up in Cameroon, that's in Africa. And as a child, I'm one of six. And as a kid, I was very loved by both my parents and um, and they were hardworking people. I'm accustomed to seeing my mom traveling around and making money and bringing it home so that she can take care of the family. And I'm a middle child. And so with that, I was with her a lot. In some of her travel, I got to go with her, see how she makes money and do things like that. But one thing that I noticed as we were growing up with all that money that my mother was making, we never sat down and talked about money. And then I know we're going to get into that conversation and how it affected my later life,
Hmm.
but we never got to talk about money. It was like a subject, a taboo subject.
Yeah.
And so I moved into the state later in my late teenage years, and I noticed the same pattern in here in the state. I got over here, you talk about the currency was different, the language was different, the weather was different. I mean, everything was different from where I came from to where I was. And here I am, and I started looking for work, and I had to learn the English language, and it wasn't easy, but as a kid, it's very easy to absorb a lot of things.
Hmm.
So it was easy for me to go. I worked in retail. I worked in healthcare industry. I worked in the financial industry. I've done a lot of different things too since I moved into the state.
Nice. So you tried a little bit of everything to
I
see
did.
what fit you. But you bring up an excellent point about talking about money as taboo, and that's something that seems to be pretty universal across every culture. Is that people work hard to earn what they can,
Mm-hmm.
but no one talks about it. As far as passing it down to their children, talking about how to handle money, or as an adult, how to maximize it. So I think that's a good point to transition to our next point here is so you're here in the States, you've worked several jobs. And what was the thought process behind getting your business started?
So yes, so like you said, it's a universal problem. Me coming from Cameroon, I thought, oh, it's just an African problem. It's just a Cameroonian issue. But when I noticed that when I moved into the state and noticed that it was the same problem that everybody was having. I mean, these jobs that I've had, I was doing pretty good, especially when I got into the financial industry world. I was making really good money, but it will all disappeared at the end of the month
Oh,
and I never had anything left. Again, taboo subject when I was growing up, it's still a taboo subject. So because of that lack of financial education, I got to make a lot of financial mistakes. Maybe it's going to be a conversation for another day, but you name it. You think of as financial mistake that's out there that you made. We made them.
oh no.
I made them. I know. Let's talk about because you come you move over here. Nobody's talking about credit.
Hmm.
No one is talking about interest. No one's talking about credit cards, all of that until you get into it and you realize, oh my goodness, what have I done to myself? So when I realized that that's not the life I wanted because it was a very painful life to live, didn't want that life. So I decided that I was going to change everything that I wanted to do, that I was doing, to have something that I wanted. I wanted a better life. I wanted to be able to spend money when I want to, not with a lot of constraint. So I changed that and I landed with a company where we were helping people pay down their mortgage in record time. I mean, it was
Nice.
amazing software that they had that did all the calculation, spelled out some result, and depending on how much money you were making, you can be done in 7 years instead of 30. So as I doing that job and working with people to get all their financial in, I got to get all their money to input it in the program so we can create a budget that works for them, or we can create and then their repayment strategy so they keep it and be done. One problem that kept coming as I'm having this meeting with my clients is that everybody say, I don't have money, I don't have money, I don't have money. But I'm looking at the program, I'm like, I
Making
see
money.
you're making. So what's going on? Why are you not seeing this money at the end of the month? I realized it was the mindset, money management skills that was lacking. And so I, along with my sisters, we decided that we were going to create Green Web Legacy, where we go in and we actually help people change the way they view money, change their relationship with money. And as we're doing that, we're like, you know what? We're women, right? Why don't we help women? And so now we focus mostly on helping women, well, valuing them to transform their financial beliefs and money habits, and we empower them to break through from debt, build a legacy that they want, accumulate wealth, and pass that legacy on to their children.
Nice. So you brought up a couple of really good points. Is that first things first, interest, whether
Yes,
it's a mortgage or a credit card. So many of those companies don't want you to understand interest very well because that's how they make their money. They
absolutely.
give you a credit card with a credit limit. You think that means I can go, well, not you in particular, but the general consumer.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but they believe that means they can go out and purchase whatever it is their heart's desire is,
Mhm.
and they see that minimum payment and they're like, "Oh, cool, I can pay it off over months." But what they may not realize is that that's a trap. It's meant to keep them in that cycle. So there goes some of that money off the top is paying down the interest.
Mhm.
Excuse me. But then from the mortgage perspective, people think, "Oh, I've got 30 years to pay off the house." But they don't realize that you really can pay it off early, which makes less money for the company, but it's a smarter investment on the consumer side.
Right.
Um, the second point you brought up was financial empowerment for women. So here in the United States, we're, I think, approximately 50 years into
Mhm.
women holding bank accounts, credit cards, being able to purchase real estate on their own. So um, they're established now, but not quite as established as men are in the country, so that leaves a huge opportunity for you to help these women understand what they can do with the money they're already
Absolutely.
earning and how
Mhm.
to maximize that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a very great point. That's one of the reasons why we shifted to work with high achieving women, because 50 years is just that's someone's lifetime,
Mhm.
right? And woman, and I remember a real quick case of a woman that I worked with. She was late in her 80s and her husband had passed. And I was helping her to gather together because she became a very dear friend of mine. I was helping her gather all her financials so that she can claim her life insurance and claim all the money that her husband had left. She can remember none of it. Not
Oh,
because she was sick, but just because she didn't know
yeah.
where the money was, the bank account, the life insurance, and all the financial in the household. We spent weeks looking for it in the household, and it broke my heart, to for her at late in that years not to know what her financial situation was. And so a lot of women have that same issue where we unintentionally defer to men. Nothing is wrong with that. But when it comes to the financial situation of the household, the woman and the man, they have to come together to make that decision.
Mhm.
So it's very important for women to know, how do we pay the light bill? Some women don't even know who's the light bill, the company that holds the light bill. So yes, so that's what we were like, if we can empower this woman too, at least to know. They're not going to take that away from the men because we don't want to take the men cards, right? But at least to know what your financial situation is in the household, to know who holds the life insurance, where do we pay the bill, what's the bank account, how much money is sitting there. That's what we want to do for women and help them to have that empowerment.
So to make sure that they understand what money's coming in, where it's going out, so both the man and the woman and the couple or the everyone involved in that relationship or family is privy to how that money is working for them.
Right.
So it's not just about a thing of women on their own, but also for women that still have a family at home so that they're more knowledgeable about what their finances are and what power money can actually have for them.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Because as a woman myself, I have a family, I have a husband and kids. And the beautiful things about my company is that we have it all. We have a single, one of our coaches who's single, so she can definitely be that person that help that type of family. And then we have a family that is complete. So the goal is about helping women. It doesn't matter the family situation. A woman is a woman, no matter where she's at, she's going to be able. And that's the beautiful thing about women is that we can handle multiple things at once. And so, if we can be empowered to know what the financial situation of the house is, it's going to be really, really great for her and for her family.
Nice.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the process. So you start working with a new client. Let's talk about what's the first thing that you do when you sit down together.
That's a really great question because that is actually the reason why this company exists, Greenweb Legacy. Is that when I was working with that company, I noticed that we had systems in place for those clients that we had. They knew how to pay budget, they knew how to pay down debt, they knew how to do a bunch of other things, but they weren't really sticking to doing all of that. Again, it goes back to because the money management skill, their mindset wasn't there. So when we first get with the clients, we break that down. Relationship with the money stories, why they spend the money the way they spend it, understanding why they have that relationship that they have with money. Because if we can break all of that down, now it's easy for them to, if we have one system that we put in place, that they can go and implement that system without having to be like, oh my God, this is so hard. No, because we already broke down this is so hard. So that's the first thing we do with our clients. We go to the mindset and we have that long conversation. We show them system, how to break that down, how to have a better relationship with money, to view money as a tool, not as to view money as a friend, as a tool that you can use for your advantage. And then we move them to the process of planning the money, paying down debt if they have any, fixing, working on their credit if it needs working on.
Nice. And so there's really no minimum income that someone needs to have to be able to work with you and make the most of their money, right?
Well, I don't want to say this isn't really a minimum income. The person that we want to work with is that woman who is ready to change her life, who's ready for something new. We've actually had worked with clients where it was very difficult because some of the things that we needed them to put in place, they couldn't do it because there was not enough money. If they are upside down in their family, it's going to be hard to make things happen for them. So, someone who is not upside down in their financial situation, and what I mean by they really, really are not negative at the end of the month. Because I've had to work with people where there's really no money, where someone from the outside will come in to help them to help them every single month for to take care of their family. Someone like that is kind of hard to work with. Maybe they want to bring that financial a little more before we can move forward because the stuff that we want her to put in place is going to be hard if there's no money. So we need to work with that woman who make good money. She's tried budgeting before and hasn't succeeded. And because of that, she's accumulated debt. Now she has no plan on how to pay that down. And sometimes they find themselves in a situation where they stop paying the debt, therefore they affected their credit. So we want to work with that woman who is ready to say, let's go, and wants to put everything in place to go.
So let's talk about a four-letter word here, since that's kind of one of my claims to fame here is loud four-letter words. Debt is one of those.
Yeah.
And everybody, for the most part, has some kind of debt, whether it's their mortgage, credit cards, auto payments, student loans, stuff like that. So let's talk about you sit down with a client, you've helped them find the mindset of they're ready to take control of their finances. So now you're looking at the debts that they have. Let's talk about the process of how do you help that client get that debt down so they can really unlock their money's power.
That's a really good question, Ryan. Because I love it because we have a department just for that good. She is called their strategies coach, because now when we sit down, you're gonna go to your money planning, your money mindset. You're gonna have that unlocked. You're gonna do some exercise. You're gonna be ready. You're gonna go see budget, we call that a Green Web Legacy money planning.
Mhm.
She's gonna lay that for you so you have a clear path as to how your money is organized. Then you can see the debt strategy when you sit down and you look. When we sit down with the debt strategy, sit down with the client, she looks at different options for you to, which is the quickest way for you to get out of debt. So first we're gonna organize the debt, and then we'll look at how much money you make, how much money is coming into the household, and say, what is the quickest way that we can cancel this debt so you can really unlock your financial. So it depends on different family situation. There's not a one size fit all for all the clients. Every client has a different situation. So according to them, then we can say, okay, we're going to use this strategy with you, or we're going to use this other strategy. And sometimes we have to use the avalanche method. Sometimes we have to use the snowball method. There's so many different strategies. These are just the ones that are on the internet, but there's so many more that we can do with our clients to help them get. Sometimes they have to use loan auctions to be able to consolidate all of that and get themselves out of debt. We look at every single one of our clients and we decide.
Nice. So let's talk about the two things that I'm brought up here, the avalanche method and the snowball method. I've
Yes.
heard of the snowball method before, but please tell me what is the avalanche method? That sounds chaotic.
The- I mean, I didn't invent the avalanche method, but it's exactly what the avalanche method, the word avalanche is in the definition of what it is. It
Uh-huh.
starts small and it roll and roll and roll. The longer roll, the bigger it gets. That's what you do with the avalanche. So it looks at your interest. Like the quick way I can explain is the snowball, look at the lowest balance that you have. The avalanche method look at your interest. So you can go from your smaller interest to your biggest interest, or from your bigger interest to your small interest. But it's focusing on interest and rolling it down to the end.
Got it.
Yeah,
And so then once you've helped them eliminate that debt, now their money's free to be put into areas that's going to build them the actual
absolutely.
long-term wealth they're looking for.
Absolutely. And a lot of time we don't even wait for the debt to be completely done, because depending on how much debt it is, it could take a couple of years to get completely done. So one thing we do is that you got to pay yourself first.
Mhm.
So as we're paying down this debt, even if we can't put 500, 2,000, or however much into a savings account, we start very small. You can start with $4. You can start with five. You can start with 20, depending on their financial situation. And the goal is to help them build the saving muscle, because saving is not innate.
Mhm.
It's something that has to be learned. And so we're teaching them, we're guiding them to do that. Even if it's $1, we want them to get in the habit that every time the paycheck comes in, some of it goes to savings,
Nice.
and it's not touched. And it's not for, oh, I ran out of money. Let me go get some of that to pay another bill. No,
No.
it's for, let's leave it alone.
Nice. So
Yeah.
that's the break glass and emergency money
There you
only.
go. Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that there's a good side to interest as well. So the bad side is it's accumulating on debt you have from credit cards, mortgage, car payments, other types of loan products. But the good side of interest is when you have savings accounts and other kind of savings products, your money is building interest, which is more money in your own hands.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of time, people you'll hear people say, I'm broke or I'm poor, is because they're working for money.
Hmm.
We need to flip that. We
Money
need to
works for
money
them.
works for us. And then once you're able to flip that and make money work for you, now you have clarity. We actually have a framework that we get our clients to go through so that they can understand that it's important to make money work for you. It's called ACCT, where they go from awareness, clarity, consistency, and then transformation.
Nice.
Once they're able to go to that framework, they understand, yes, money works for me, because now you can give money, you can give every dollar a job to do, and it goes and does it and bring you more money.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like you said earlier in our interview, money is a tool. Money is something that can work for
For
you
you.
and it can go out and make you more money and it can provide all of the things that you want to do with the proper education and planning.
Exactly. And that's our main goal. We want women and people in general, but mostly women, because we're women working with women, to have that financial literacy, to have that financial knowledge. Because it's one thing to understand interest and credit card, but it's another thing to understand how to produce more money.
Hmm.
So they need to be able to feel confident around using money, having money as a friend.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that do you have a specific success story with a client that you would like to share? You don't have to share anything identified and shouldn't, but just that kind of feeling of watching your client transform from money running them to them running their money.
Yes, we actually, I can think of one of our clients. She came in and she was making really good money, well over six figures and more.
Oh my.
But at the end of the month, yet she had debt. She had very little savings. She was barely having any savings, and she had no idea where her money was going every month. So when we sat down again, like I said, we walk her to the framework, but she got awareness with deal very well. She got that mindset broken. It wasn't easy, but she was ready to do the work. So we pushed her, and she did it. And she broke that. She was able to put in place all the tools that we gave her. And just in a few weeks working with us, one of her credit cards was paid off.
Nice.
She was able to put way more money into her savings,
Nice.
and she later in the program, couple of weeks into the program, she realized she could start a small business, a side business. It wasn't she was working. So she realized she could start. She was very happy. When you hear her word to see how confident she feels around money. And she kept using her like, I don't know anything about money. I know I wish I know. My mom told me some of it, but I didn't care about it. To be like, yes, uh, yes, I put this much money into my saving. Yes, I actually am investing now. It's just so amazing to see that transformation for her. How confidently she talks about money.
Nice.
It just makes me feel very proud, and I love working with our clients.
Nice.
Yeah.
So then let's talk about what are some of the most common mistakes that people are making when you first look at their finances? What are some of the things that most, if not all of your clients share in common?
You mentioned one of them earlier when you talk about looking at your credit cards and thinking, oh, you have a $5,000 credit card and it's maxed out and the minimum payment is 86,000. Nice. That's a really big mistake that a lot of people make. And a lot of all of our clients have that issue, just focusing on the minimum payment, thinking that they can pay that over time. And that's how banks make money. So that's one mistake that I've seen a lot of them do. Another one that I see people do a lot is thinking that credit card is an extension of their money. Credit card is not an extension of your money. Actually, the funny thing is that our debt strategist came up with this thing the other day, and that I really, really loved. She said, if you don't have money in your checking account, you don't have money in your credit card.
Mm,
And I really like that because your credit card is not an extension of the money. You still have to pay that back. And if you don't have money in your checking account, how are you going to be able to pay that back? There you go. You're accumulating debt, interest, and usually it's high interest debt. That's very painful to get rid of. And then just not knowing how to save money is another big thing that people do. They think that I'm going to pay all my bills. And then when I have leftover money, if I have leftover money, then I will save it, which is a big mistake. Debt is going to come and it's going to go.
mhm.
You'll find a way to pay debt. But even if the minimum payment is $86 and you can only pay $20, you paid some money. But the savings is not going to feel the same. You want to be able to put something in your saving account for a rainy day because rainy days come all the time.
It's gonna happen.
They're gonna happen. So you need to be prepared, especially if all your credit cards are maxed out, that you can't use it as an extension of your money anymore. So the one thing that I want to say is it doesn't matter what's going on in your financial situation. Like I mentioned earlier, even if it's $1 that you can save that dollar. Because it's going to teach you that saving is the number one thing that you need to do. And as you save that dollar over time, you're going to find more dollars to be saved. You're gonna go from $1 to $500 over time.
Nice. And so, as you have built your business, what are some of the things that you've learned along the way about getting up and running and getting your business to where it's thriving?
Yes. Oh, business. Yes. It wasn't easy at first. There was a lot of ups and downs, a lot of mistakes. The one thing that I want to say to somebody who is in business, who avoid all those stress, anxieties moment, is find a mentor. Had I find a mentor from day one, there's so many things that I would have avoided. Like there's a woman that we're working with, we love her so much. Had I met her when I started, my business would have been further along than it is, and I would have avoided so many more mistakes. So find somebody. And the easy way to find a mentor, maybe at first you don't have money to pay for it. There's easy way. There's a lot of people out there that do podcasting. They're talking about business. So go in and depending on your industry, find that podcast or that person that speak and can relate to you. You will feel it because as I listen to multiple podcasts, I will get to people when I'm like, that voice, I can't handle that voice, right? Or you're somebody like, wow, you'll be like, I love listening to that person. I love listening to that person. So once you can connect like that with somebody, then listen to them. Get on their email list so you can learn to how they talk to you through email. Follow them on their social media so you learn how they do it on social media. Follow them if they have an event, whether it's a webinar, a live event, or whatever. Go there, you see how they teach and learn from them, from the free stuff that they're offering. And eventually you'll be in a position you're like, I'm going to pay for that person, which is what I did. That's why I'm sharing this with the whoever is listening right now. We did that for so long. And then finally we were in a position we can afford it because she wasn't cheap and we were able to pay her and work one on one with the person. And the one on one work is one of the best things we've ever done to
Nice.
push us forward. So when you go from okay, consuming from that person, get onto a one on one with that person. They can help you avoid so many mistakes.
Nice. And if I remember correctly, you have your own podcast, correct?
I do.
Yeah, so please tell our
Yes.
viewers about that.
Absolutely. Yes. Our podcast is called the Four Sister Legacy Podcast. Again, I run it with my four sisters and we talk all things money. Literally, the stuff that you're not seeing on the internet being talked about, we talk about. We go dive into, we give you step by step process on how to fix your credit, step by step process on how to do a great money planning that fits your lifestyle. We give you really good framework to unplug your brain and really create money skills because money needs to be learned. We give you really and some debt strategies. We give you all the things money on it. And then once a month, we have the four of us, we get together and we have one episode where we talk about everything else other than money.
Nice. Now, how
Yeah.
can someone find your podcast if they want to go take a listen?
So we are all on iTunes, Spotify, and all the platforms. So you can find us there. Again, the podcast is called the Four Sisters Legacy Podcast.
Four Sisters Legacy Podcast.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And Aileen, how can our viewers get a hold of you if they want to have a conversation about how they can start taking control of their money?
So we actually have a Facebook group where you can go. It's called Guilt Free Spending. I'm a woman. I love spending shoes, right? And so we don't want you to spend money and having to have all the drama that comes with it. Women know what I'm talking about, and the people that love spending money, they know what I'm talking about when you spend money and then you're like, you have buyer's remorse. We want to take that away from you. So the Facebook group is called Guilt Free Spending that you can find us there, and you're welcome to join. And then also on all social media platform, we are Green Wealth Legacy. And you can also contact us through our website, which is actually the best way to contact us is to the website. It's called greenwealthlegacy.com.
Nice. Well, Aileen, thank you so much for coming to share your story with us today and for being on our first episode of this podcast. So I'm really grateful to have you as our first guest.
Oh, thank you, Ryan, for having me as guest. I feel very special.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. And to everyone watching, thank you very much for watching this episode. If you liked what we did here, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. The 3 steps to not only make sure that you stay up to date with what we're doing in our newest episodes, but also to invite your friends and family as well. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you in the next episode.